what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Righteous Force, Sleeping Warrior, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's the weather over there? Is it as sunny too?
Absolutely
Is it over
beautiful.
here?
Been out planting sunflowers.
Look at that.
Absolutely lovely. I just hustle a few people off mute in Discord and then I'll do the housekeeping questions. Do you want to show us your day? There you go. That's where it is. Exactly the same where I am. Always the same way. Arwin's weather is basically the same as mine, pretty much always.
Do you have the cold wind too, by the way? The steady cold wind.
A little bit. Still lovely though.
Yeah, it is. Especially like behind the window. No? It's beautiful.
Behind the window? You mean outside?
What? No. No, I mean sitting behind the window in the sun. It's like full on heat. Very lovely.
Oh, I see what you mean. Inside, behind the... Yeah, I get you now. Yeah. Yeah, it is nice. It's nice inside, it's nice outside. Like I say, I was out planting sunflowers and...
Nice.
Very nice. Right. Any signs of a physical Earth curve edge, formerly known as the geometric horizon?
No.
The what? The geometric horizon?
Yeah, the geometric horizon?
Earth would have to be a sphere for that to be reality. And it's not
You
reality,
mean-
so Earth is not a sphere.
You mean the geometric thingamabob? Thingamajig?
Yeah, we can't really call...
Can't
You're
be a
right.
horizon.
No, it's a good point, Chocolate. You've been saying this for a few days now. You can't really call it a horizon because a horizon's the position where the sky appears to meet the ground. That's a horizon. Well, if the position that appears to meet the sky appears to meet the ground is some refracted or apparent, whatever they call it, position, i.e. it's not the geometric position, then the geometric position in their model isn't a horizon, it's just some X marked in a strange model that they believe in. It's not a horizon, that's the position where the sky appears to meet the ground. And if it isn't where the sky meets the ground, it's not a horizon, so it's the geometric thingamabob from their model.
Oh, why not just call it sphere edge? That's what it is, right?
Yeah, sphere edge. Yeah, edge. Correct, Darwin, yes. Where they draw their straight tangent to as they simultaneously tell us how not straight all the lines to everything is. Or are.
They have a straight tangent now?
It's a necessity. It's by definition what a tangent is.
Don't they change the meaning of words, though?
They try.
Exactly.
No, they just do what I call donkey dick geometry. That's what they do. Any signs at all of any Earth curvature?
Not from Tempe, Arizona.
No, but I'm wondering something. I'm wondering for like the normies out there that are very new to this flat Earth, or they hear it first time from you. What seems easier to convince them, talking about this horizon thing or showing them pictures of the lunar lander?
don't know. I don't qualify it in those terms. I'm not trying to convince people. You just say it like it is. People can take it or leave it. How convincing something is kind of down to the individual, isn't it? For some of them,
And it depends on the angle of the argument. Bringing up the lunar lander is very good to help newcomers realize how unreliable this source for all these spaceball pictures is. Basically, that's what that's good for. But if they really want to know for themselves out there, then it would be good to show them what the horizon really is and how the ballers have been trying to trick everyone into believing it is a sphere edge. So it depends on the angle.
Beyond the second law of thermodynamics violation that is the sky vacuum, otherwise known as outer space, we don't tend to talk a great deal about things that are claimed to take place in that fake place called outer space. Obviously, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. It doesn't, therefore the sky is not a vacuum. Nevertheless, there are lots of stories that go along with that, which, like I say, typically don't get discussed. But as coincidence would have it, my wife and I were discussing exactly that yesterday. And I explained, given the very shady nature of the footage that is claimed to come from that second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, it would only take about 3 generations to eradicate that from history. So we were talking about 1984 and the job that the main character, is it Winston's got. He's got the job of eradicating things from the public consciousness by way of removing things from the media. So an uncomfortable or awkward, detail in a newspaper headline about the 2 different continents that are at war with each other. When they change that, they need somebody to actually remove all of that information from the mainstream. Anyway, based on that idea, a guy with a memory hole as a metaphor, 3 generations from now, just as an idea, it could be the case that they start to phase out these very shady, very dodgy, very unconvincing moon landings from history. Therefore, when we're popping our clogs, dying, in, however many years' time, the generation that follows our death may never, ever know about the moon landing. It might just get eradicated from the history books. Moreover, this is where it got interesting for me. If you imagine someone like Martin Liedtke, who goes through the old texts and the old books and looks at stuff and says, look how they used to be back in, here's an old Antiquitech technology, I wonder what it could be. Imagine somebody 3 generations from now going, they used to go to that light in the sky called the moon. They've been there. Look, I've found these bits of evidence. And everyone goes, oh, shut up, you crazy ball earther. Because by then the rhetoric's completely changed, and just
like in the movie Interstellar, basically. Remember?
Well, moreover, it's the way it gets phrased. It's like, oh, don't be so stupid about people going to the lights in the sky, you stupid heliocentrist. Because it's all been flipped around by then. You know what I mean? And then the nutters become the heliocentrists, believing that you can travel to the moon, and they're showing old documents saying, no, they did, they went there once. No, they didn't. Don't be stupid. Look, I've got this old document. Yeah, you stupid globehead conspiracy theorist. Get out of here.
Right, but it is kind of possible that if they choose to edit the history of the 20th century with the moon landings, that they could just later claim, no, that was just a movie. That was just an early movie for the futurism, and
exactly.
Just try to scrub it away like it actually was supposed to be a real event. It looked so fake anyway,
Well, that's what they get to by the second generation. So, while we're on our deathbeds, that generation in school might be told exactly that. In the interim stages where there's fading remnants of the old rhetoric still around, then you've got to justify it a little bit. So you say, oh, no, that's just an old movie. And then by the time the memory hole's been effective and everything's disappeared, you don't need to mention it ever again. And then some nutter like Martin comes along and says, look, I found this scrap of paper that says they went to that light in the sky. And everyone laughs and goes, don't be silly. No, they did. The government went there. It was true. It's a conspiracy.
Oh God! Now I have a terrible realization. Like even a generation after that, they could literally just pull it out of the books and see, like, look, 100 years ago, our ancestors thought up this amazing plan of going to the moon, just like Jules Verne did a couple of 100 years before that. We should really try this now.
Also,
and they're going to do it all over again, like it never happened before.
It also might be the case that
who's
the
Jules
Earth's...
Verne?
it might be the case that the Earth isn't flat. Maybe it's a sphere. Maybe that's how the rhetoric will be going in 3 generations.
Well, maybe by then people will have been so distracted that nobody really, nobody really cares, or they're tricked again. You know, in the 60s, most people did know the Earth was flat. It happened anyway. You know.
Says
So,
you.
Well, I heard
This is
that
all
when
future talk. This is
That's
also
not the case,
future.
Arwin. That's simply not the case. People might
I
have
heard that
known
when
some small hold on, some small handful of people might have known in the 60s, but that would be no different to, say, 2000 and somewhere around the 2010 mark or prior. You know, 2008 for the sake of argument. Yeah, there'd be people who knew the Earth was flat then. Matt Powerland was one of them. But does that mean that there were hordes of people that knew the real truth about the nature of their reality? No, they're all just as brainwashed in the 60s as they are now.
Anyway, let's get to that when we get there.
Fair enough. Should we carry on with housekeeping?
When we're all old and gray, we can warn the next generation. Yeah, we don't have much time, but you gotta listen. Back in the day, they tried to fool us with this moon landing. They're gonna try it again. You gotta be careful.
I like that you turned into a grizzled old prospector. Keep slaying heliocentric wizards. Much love, says Witsit Gets It. Yeah, good, more power to you, Witsit Gets It. You're doing a fine job, my friend. So yeah, if you're in this live chat, right click on Witsit Gets It super chat, go to his channel, subscribe today. Any more for any more?
Since he's a globebuster, I might as well mention.
Shout out to Witsit. I was just on 24/7 with him, flat smacking. Witsit is pretty awesome. Shout out to you, brother.
Since he's a globebuster, might as well plug that show they did last yesterday.
Go ahead.
That's all I'm gonna say about it. I already talked about it in the pre-show.
Do a better job than that. Come on, give it a proper plug.
Well, they had an interesting guest on, and she had some very interesting things to say about like viruses and stuff like that, and like our immune system and how things work, and all the misinformation that seems to be out there about how the medical industry and just stuff like that, I guess, in a broad stroke kind of way. Is that good?
Yeah, you didn't mention the name of the channel or where to find it or anything, but yeah, great.
Well, it's Globebusters. They should be easy to find. I think most of us are subscribed to them anyways.
What's the title of the video?
It's like COVID. No, it's just like, hold on a second. Where is that? It's called the CV-5G connection. But they really don't talk about 5G. They mostly talk about some other really interesting stuff.
Cool, let's check it out. That's on Globebusters channel. And it's got 5G. What was the title again?
The CV-5G connection.
If someone's willing to pay me 5G, I'll talk about it.
5G. Okie doke. Any more for any more?
Donate 5G to me right now.
Yeah, Arwin and I will do a duo show. That's 10G altogether.
Right, talking of G. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I wonder if there is any scientific evidence for gravity.
Seems
Tony?
good times for all. Did
Tony.
I think he's busy. Or doing audio chaos.
Sorry.
Pre-show.
I was on mute. What was the question?
Any scientific
There is
evidence of gravity?
No, nothing. Just a little bit of maths.
I think the Tesla Roadster has an anti-gravity mechanism in it, because last time I saw it, it was in the medium that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but you know it's real because it looks so fake.
Well, Good Times for All has been doing some interesting stuff trying to figure out what's going on with this. So you guys can check his channel. He has a weird spelled name too. Oh man, let me see if I can find it.
GUDSTIMS 4 number all.
No, you got it wrong. It's GUDTIMS.
That's what I said.
That's what he
That's
said.
what I said. GUD.
Look, no, stop both of you. Right. let's get Zach's channel name right. It's Good Times for All, but it's spelled
How about
G-U...
how about I share it?
Oh, God. I just want to say his name clearly for those listening without being interrupted, please. G-U-D-T-I-M-S 4 A-double-L. That's the number 4. So G-U-D-T-I-M-S number 4 A-double-L. That's Good Times for All. Zachary Sabala. Excellent channel. You should all be subscribed. Subscribe today.
It's good Tims for all.
It is Good Tims, but that's not what it is.
Good morning, all.
Hey, Paul.
It's lead speak.
What's up, Paul?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Yeah, it's over there. No distance to the sun. And ballers don't like it when I actually get to the nitty-gritty details of it. Like, you don't have any proof it is holographic, even though light and the holograms are physical, apparently. Apparently, how ironic. But yeah, no, we don't even know for certain what it is. It's just light coming from that direction, and we see these apparitions, these discs. Where it comes from, that's it. I don't know anything more.
That's why for this argument, Nathan says it best. What is the sun?
I got loads of stick for that, you know. When I was interviewed by Vice, my answer to that question was, I don't know what the sun is. I don't know what the moon is. That was my answer. And I got loads of grief over it. Like, no, you must reify this straw man model and say it's 2,000 miles away. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Right.
Just the honest answer, you don't know what it is. You don't. Nobody does.
Well, there is some data from that we can extrapolate from it, but yeah, to then draw elaborate conclusions based on just that data, that's where the difficulty comes in. That's where the presuppositions start to sneak in.
I remember it's like, I think it was American Dad or Family Guy, one or the other. They do like a flashback scene where they become like a Stone Age family. And the news report comes from a stone that they've hollowed out, and the two news reporters literally sit in each people's house and do the report. But at the end of a news report, they say, up next, that big light in the sky. What is it and how can we worship it?
Wow.
Nice.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Observe and declare. It's all calculable.
Ah, I miss Slick. Who's with me? Yay, I miss Slick too. Observe and declare.
I do.
Oh,
I do miss Slick too. You're talking about Slick James, right?
Yes, James Johnson.
Yeah, I missed him too.
Yeah, I do. Shout out to Slick.
Lads, yeah, exactly. Shout out to Slick James Johnson.
I'll tell you what's slick is your sunflower seeds, that sunflower plant that you planted. It's gonna track the sun.
They do track
west.
the sun. That's not incorrect. Yeah, they follow the sun.
They do, don't they?
That's what they do. They follow the sun. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
What a mouthful of presuppositions. Nope. Nothing beyond the CGI and old paintings in encyclopedias, school books.
I'm still hearing S waves and P waves out there. They're still holding on to that.
Who wants to field that? Anthony's probably the most concise at taking that crap to part.
Taking what? Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was arguing with Rumpus. What was the taking apart bit?
P waves and S waves.
Oh, P waves and S waves. Yeah, the interpretation of squiggles on a graph have absolutely no connection whatsoever to do with the shape of the Earth. Yeah, you get squiggles on a graph, and you can plot them into a computer, and it can give you an interpretation of what you think that you're looking at, if you assume that you're based on a sphere. But these squiggles are notoriously unreliable, as was demonstrated with the Kola Super Deep Borehole, where seismology made 4 predictions, and all 4 of them were wrong. I mean, that's like more unreliable than the Rumpus. Rumpus makes claims and he doesn't get them all right, but he tells people he gets every single one of them right. Well, seismology got every single one of them wrong, yet they use seismology to claim that we live on a sphere and there's no other interpretation possible. Totally and utterly incorrect.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Well, some ballers think that they do, but every time they seem to demonstrate it, they always bring out a container of some kind to demonstrate it in. So, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's quite a crack, isn't it? It's a laugh.
All I hear all the time is gas has weight, and we know the problem with that, don't we?
What, the equivocation with it being like I'll get it right this time, I had plenty of sleep, being a liquid in terms of its fluid attribution. So they call it arbitrarily a fluid, because when in hydrostatic equilibrium, they can qualify gas as being both uncompressible and static. And when they apply hydrostatic equilibrium, or extrapolate out from it more likely, they are assuming that gas behaves in that manner, i.e. uncompressible and static. So it doesn't apply to gas to give it weight. The simple fact is gas expands in all directions, and the way you qualify the amount of it, if you want to do so, is the amount of pressure, the force exerted on the walls of its container. That's how you qualify it with gas, not with weight. That's downward. Well, it's not just going downward, it's going upward. And if you only qualify the down bit, what about the up bit? The up bit would be what? Contrapositive of your downforce? Does that mean it's a net force of 0? Well, no, it's still got a qualifiable amount of something, and that's qualified with pressure.
But even if you call it a fluid, gas has got to have fluid dynamics. It's got to be under what for that to occur? Under what?
High pressure. It's got to be highly compressed to the point where you can't compress it any further.
Well,
so how do you have gas pressure? How do you have gas pressure without a container? We're back to square one again.
Yeah, exactly.
But they do love to think of gas as if it were like the ocean. It's like their next level ocean up there, and then the vacuum is kind of sort of like the air. So they basically, I think they really do just try to imagine every time when they imagine the gas up there and then the vacuum, they kind of do think of it as if it were the ocean and the atmosphere, even though it has no correlation whatsoever.
Yeah, they arbitrarily call it a fluid and then describe it as having liquid-like properties because they can qualify in a thought experiment gas behaving with liquid-like properties when they call it fluid, because when describing hydrostatic equilibrium, you can compress a gas to the point that it can't be compressed anymore and get it to have liquid-like behaviour. So therefore, a downward force, because when in hydrostatic equilibrium, you can qualify out a downward force and then arbitrarily apply that to something that's compressible when that's incompressible. It's a complete cluster screw. But they have to jump through all these hoops to get to the point where they can say, no, weight, that's what answers this problem. Air's got weight. No, it hasn't. It's got pressure. It expands in all directions to fill the available volume. And if the sky is a vacuum, it would expand to fill it. And we'd have no gas left.
Apparently, there's this new nonsense that they're starting to say with the universe is the container.
Oh, they finally got that part right. It's about one time. Yeah.
Right. So apparently, I mean that to me that does sound like some sort of a concession that you do require a container, because if you're saying, oh, you don't need gas, gas pressure doesn't require a container,
Right.
and then the first thing you say after that, well, the universe is a container. Oh, okay. So do we require a container then? Is that what you're saying? Even
Well,
though that
Wait a minute,
that might not be absolutely correct, obviously, because you can't verify that. But that sounds like a concession.
right, but maybe they're just moving on beyond that absolute ridiculous baseline assertion that the universe, if it would even be there and could be possible, that it would be a expanding vacuum, which is like so contradictory. It's absolutely insane. So maybe they're just figuring out, okay, well, maybe the universe is looping or just a certain size or whatever, and then then they have a technical container in their presuppositional conception.
Did they do the universe line before or after they said that the moon was in Earth's atmosphere?
I started hearing that after.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
That's
Finally
funny
some
because
This
progress.
heliocentric scientism is absolutely a religion. Absolutely a religion.
Could it agree more?
I was going to say that's funny because as I was growing up and following all the moon missions, they were talking about outer space and vacuums, and now they're saying it's in the atmosphere. So I do remember the contrast.
I'm amazed more and more every day how much faith it requires to believe the heliocentric scientism ideas and theories.
Well, yeah. Well, with what's coming out in these days, yes. But even back in the past when I still believed the globe, it wasn't that difficult because every time it would be like this. I would believe it, and I saw the pictures, and I saw shapes, spaceships in outer space, and transformers, and that's just so awesome. It had to be real because I wanted it to be real, and that, yeah. When I then was confronted with the technicals in school and all that, and just the flaws, it just became apparent to me, like, wow, they are so sloppy. They haven't perfected it, you know. They haven't discovered how it really should be, and I believed it back then. Now I'm just
But
playing
that's
it
just
like
it.
a
So
game.
many just want to believe, and they
Yeah,
want
but
to be part of the, the crowd rather
no,
than
not
go
just no.
against the
They want to be
crowd.
part of the progress. They want to help build the truth from that vision angle, and so did I.
Mm.
It's like, wow, they are so incompetent. This could be done better. That was my attitude. It's like, why aren't you fixing this? So even though I knew it was kind of a machination, sort of, I just overlooked it.
Aren't you
So
offering?
weird.
Aren't you offering advice for them to technically make their argument better for a fee, Armin? I thought you were opening up a consulting business for ballers.
No, I made them an offer for 6 million, yes. But yeah, yeah. They're probably just
I think it
counting on
makes
me
them
being
feel
so
smart too.
passionate and impulsive that I'm just gonna spill all the secrets anyway. So they're not gonna pay me, I think.
Oh, and you said they think it makes them smart or something. I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah. I think it. I think that it helps them feel like they're smart as well.
Well, feel like they're smart, or are they just building on something that is intellectual and mechanical and technical and very elaborate? So working
Yeah,
on
and
that, thinking about it
that's what
is
they consider
stimulating.
smart.
It is like super
Mm.
high-tech Legos, you know? So it does kind of make you smart. On the other hand, it also does make you naive if you literally believe it's all real. So you're then very mechanically intelligent, but at the same time, complete fool. But yeah, that's what it's
Yeah.
like.
And
Any ballers in Discord?
one more housekeeping question. Any evidence the R value?
Oh, That was more housekeeping. R value. I don't know. I think we've already got a concession that at best we've disproven the radius of Earth. So, we already got concessions.
Yeah, it's game over, we know that, but it's nice to summarise these things with the housekeeping questions each day. Some crazy fool might think they can debunk one of these questions.
Well, the
It was
only baller
interesting,
here in Discord at the moment is Kosho, so...
Because Kosho knows it's flat.
Well,
Are you
maybe-
sure that's Kosho?
Well, they were saying on the show or in the Discord, I think last week, that Alberini's measurements were accurate, mainly because he was so high up that there's less refraction. So maybe Kosho can explain.
What, less of the lines deviating from straight?
Right.
So not going to be doing geometry then either then. They've already declared the only way you get to see the geometric horizon is if the sky vacuum they claim out of space is actually sucked all the air out.
Yeah. How do they come back from that one?
You don't.
Kind of put your foot in your mouth with that.
You're never going to do geometry ever again. The globe geometry was debunked, and when we declared that you only need one black swan to disprove that all swans are white, that's proven out by the fact that the people who argued this tell us it's refracted. In other words, they are now declaring that it's not geometric, and that's what the black swans debunked. Global geometry. Now, people are like, oh, well, the black swan's dead. It's like, no. You don't appreciate the rhetoric's change. That change is because it's never going to go back to being geometric ever again. The notion that we've got nothing but a geometric horizon, an Earth curve edge obstruction, that notion is dead. You only need one to destroy it. And it has been destroyed to the point where even their side have to justify how non-geometric the horizon is now. You only need one black swan. The horizon's never going to be white swans, all horizons being geometric. That assumption's gone. Forever. It'll never return either.
Yeah, they were arguing that it's the Earth curve, geometric, that blocked the bottom of boats and buildings. Now, they're walking away from that.
Yeah. With a hand wave, we don't see the geometric horizon. That is the concession that destroys your global outlook. Your outlook being a geometric outlook, based on proving the physicality of Earth curve with that geometry. That's your ground-based proof for Earth's sphericity. And you haven't got it anymore. We don't see a geometric horizon. All right. Well, then we don't have geometry then. Bye-bye, globe. Bye-bye, geometry. But the fundies tell us how non-geometric it is. We don't see it. All right. Well, you're never going to be deriving it ever again. You're never going to utilise it ever again. You're never going to demand that we've got arbitrary 7/6 based on the physical radius value ever again. Your refraction's dead. Your geometry's dead. Your Earth curve's dead. Your globe religion's dead. It's completely untenable. It's the best argument ever.
They don't even realize the argument has made them change literally their arguments. It's like they almost haven't caught on to that yet. That now all of a sudden, post Black Swan, now the horizon's apparent. Really? Like hello, we've been telling you guys that shit for years. All of a sudden, y'all caught up.
Yeah.
and what made you guys catch up was the Black Swan, and now it's dead. Nah, it's your model that's dead. It's your radius that's dead. That's what happened.
And they start to sort of scoop up our arguments and throw them back at us like they're a defence. Well, it's optics. Yeah, optics, right?
Are you guys denying refraction? Like, really? You guys are denying your geometry. That's for certain.
I like it though, because like literally half of them don't realise they're doing it while they do it. They say it with such a smug grin, like, this is going to demolish your argument. It's not geometric, fool. You go, yeah, we know. Thanks.
Right.
I am curious, how long will it be before we can start presenting an alternative model?
I mean, an alternative model. The world's been mapped, right? And the military have access to those in very small chunks that they get divvied out depending on where they are. So the world's been mapped, we just don't get access to that. Now, are they going to give us access as a result of us exposing the fact that we're not on a spherical surface with globe geometry? Of course not. Whatever the rhetoric change comes, will come in due course. It won't be for our benefit. Now, us understanding the nature of our own existence is a very personal thing, hence me saying half the time I don't care if I convince somebody either way. That's their personal existence. Far be it for me to jeopardise how people want to view the world. Now, I view the world how it is, flat. Take it or leave it. But as for finding a model, models are pseudoscience. They've been used to pollute our brains into what was originally used for philosophers to gain a better understanding of the world that they experience. And it was, or I would hope it was assumed, that those philosophers didn't immediately reify these musings into their physical reality. They just took them as what they were, a way of looking at the world so you can gain a better understanding of potentially the stars and their movements. Well, if you're utilising a heliocentric model to do that, and you don't reify it, then that's a very useful tool. It's a very good model. But to reify it into existence and say you're standing on a sphere is where the problems begin. If you start to do that with a flat plane and putting a dome over it and little local lights and all the things that we've got already as a model, but just happen to have the map underneath correct, well, what about all the other ancillaries that go along with that model? When you're charged with explaining a certain aspect of it that you don't necessarily have any access whatsoever to prove out or justify, like the moon and sun, what are you going to do then? Make it up as you go along? But as for the map, the map's done. The ground that we know of is definitely well and truly accurately mapped out. Have we got a full, complete picture of that given to us? No. Will we ever? I have no idea. I'm not a cartographer. Do I care about getting one? Not necessarily. In terms of the places I want to travel, are they all well and truly worked out with basically roads either on the physical ground or through the sky or water? Yeah, they're all pretty much mapped out with roads. So you can get from A to B, regardless of what they tell you it's represented as on a sphere-shaped model that we don't live on. So it's kind of inconsequential to have a model as far as I'm concerned. The fact that we're non-stop challenged to give others one, I take as a tell. They can't bear to let go of an explanation for things. It's the difference between my saying, what a wonderful world we live in. We're in a world where you're allowed the mentality of a child again. The wonder of what things might be. Not having an answer to why the sky is blue or what the sun is far more exciting, in my view. But to those of you who are absolutely suckling on the teat of government and schooling for your answers, Wikipedia parroting muppets, as we deal with, they can't bear the idea of not having answers. So therefore they charge us with providing them with an answer when we're in no justifiable position to give them one in many instances. And our only position, as far as I can reconcile, is to point out where the current rhetoric is incorrect, where it doesn't make any sense, where it has absolutely no right to be called your reality. Now, does that mean I'm suddenly the arbiter of what reality actually is? No, it isn't. It's not actually that difficult to pull apart bullshit, to say where it's wrong. The problem becomes the bullshit that comes back with a just so story that's put in place just because you're asked for one. Well, if it's not 93 million miles away, how far is it? And then you're left with the position I was left in when asked that question by Vice. The answer is, I don't know. But that's not going to be very convincing to somebody who must have a replacement model. I don't care. All right. So what if I prove unequivocally that the nonsense they tell you about how far the sun is based on changing angles and sticking sticks in the ground and extrapolating out with Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion based on Venus being the same size as a presupposed Earth that's spherical, all that shite gets pointed out to you and you decide that no, well, it's still going to be 93 million miles away because you haven't got a better story to give me. Well, then you're an idiot. It's like, I don't need to give you a better story. Just because I haven't got one doesn't mean that the sun's 93 million miles away when you manipulate angles and apply Kepler's third law. It doesn't mean that. It's just a way of looking at it using maths. They're just twinkly lights in the sky. Venus is just a light. It's not a rock the same size as us. But if you want to use those figures and decide that that gives you a 93 million mile sun, then you've got to assume that that light is a rock the same size as a presupposition that we're standing on a sphere. That's a lot of assumptions, that none of which have been verified in any way, shape or form. So you can't accept that explanation anymore. Or you can demand I give you an alternative, because that'll help. No, it won't.
Well, that's the biggest mistake I think a lot of flat earthers make, is trying to propose a model that is untenable, that is unverifiable, unknowable almost.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know what the sun is, don't put it at 2,000 miles moving in a circle above a domed map of the azimuthal equidistant projection, because you don't know that that's what it is. So you've then got to explain why it's doing that in your model. Not why the sun's doing what it does, but why your little light in your model does what it does compared to a globe model, because it'll be held up in false dichotomy. That's all they ever do. Well, here's my model. Now let's have a versus match with your model, and we'll see which one wins. And the winner is our reality. What a load of crap. Both are reification fallacies. We don't live on a flat plain pancake with lights above it, under a dome. We don't. That's not the world we live in. We don't live in a sphere flying through a sky vacuum. So neither model's correct. To hold them up in false dichotomy and say one of which has got to be correct, whichever matches best is going to be our world. Oh, well, the sphere matches best, therefore we're standing on a bloody sphere, and people are antipodal to us in Australia. No, it's just horseshit. But that doesn't mean that the flat earth model, if you say, well, no, this works better, because the military have now given us a really accurate map, we've managed to piece together all the scraps they gave us, and now look, we stick a little light above that, and it seems to go in a circle correctly. All right, so that makes it 2,000 miles away, does it? Or 3,000, or whatever they say it is, on whatever day they've chosen to make the measurements to something they don't know what it is. So none of it makes any sense to me when people reify these models.
And there's even other possibilities. It's all a projection. The map is a projection. There's still things to be figured out with absolute certainty to even know the orientation of the whole realm. Like, is the equator, which is basically derived from sun angles, over the surface, is the equator line, is it a straight line? Is it an arc? Or is it a circle? Now, this is critical to understand the very nature of the map we're looking at. So this is something that, until we figure this one out perfectly, it's all just guesswork, pretty much.
What equator?
The equator line, where the equator is supposed to be.
Would there be an equator line if there wasn't a globe model that's been reified?
What?
You can still derive the same thing.
There is an equator line, definitely.
No, there isn't. There's no such thing as an equator line. It's a derived value based on the movement of those celestial bodies. It's not a line, but you could derive that movement of that body and arbitrarily mark a line on the ground based on its path on any map you like. It makes sod all difference. The fact that they then derive that out as being the centre point, if you side on 90 degrees to the northern point that's looking up at Polaris on their sphere model, doesn't mean that you're side on to looking up at Polaris on the top if you're at the North Pole in reality. That's just a way of mapping things. But hello, Quantum Eraser.
Yeah, my point is what this derived conceptual line from specific angular positions of the heavenly bodies is very persistent always. So that persistence is the anchor we got to go on. Is it geometrically a literal line? Is it an arc, or is it a circle? What is that location? What is that? What is the orientation of it really? To figure out what is the realm like.
I don't bloody know.
I don't know either, but I figured a way out to figure it out eventually.
Yeah, surely it can be known, can it not? With the right amount of investigation and genuine research.
Right on. Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
That's exactly it, right?
Yes.
That's the attitude. Because you started this conversation by asking us when we will have a model of it. And I'm like, oh, who cares? But that doesn't change the fact that, well, you could have a really good look at it, try and figure it out. Yeah, isn't that exciting? Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
And the great advantage too of this equator piece of knowledge, this key knowledge, is it's the equator. You're allowed to go there. You know, the Arctic, you're not even supposed to go there. But the equator is officially not a problem, so we can practically eventually figure this out.
It's not even a place.
Now,
It's not even a place. I've been on the equator. Wowee. It's not a place.
You know what I mean? Come on.
look, in winter time, the sun is setting lower on my horizon. In summertime, it's much higher. It has a circuit. It allows for the seasons. That's what I know. I don't bring an equator to that.
I'm just talking about the realm's orientation, the geometrical orientation, other than the flat factor, which is definitely there.
Well, I'm just specifying the movement of the luminaries that are
The flat
consistent
factor.
with the seasons and of the 12 months we have. It's the same thing each year all the time.
Yes, I know. And that's
So I'm
why
just talking about the luminaries, not the surface it's shining on.
Right, which is where that's been derived from in the first instance. That's the point.
I just want to know the literal geometrical orientation of the land masses. And the only thing we even have to go by are maps, which are based on the celestial bodies. So yes, that's why I'm just saying the equator line, what is it? How does it orient over the flat Earth realm?
Sure. What is the sun, Arwin?
Well, maybe we'll get to that at another point. It's probably a little bit more difficult to figure that one out.
Right, but it's been derived from that.
The sun? No.
The
It's
equator.
just, right, no, the sun angle position. Yes, the sky clock. The orientation, the map has been derived from the sky clock, definitely.
Well, the azimuthal equidistant projection certainly seems to have been derived from the sky clock. It's out compared to time and date when we tested that. But nevertheless, there are many different ways of projecting out what has obviously been taken from a flat plane, wrapped around a sphere, and then projected onto flat maps. But that makes them all completely wrong. That's why none of them are accurate. And we're never going to scrap them. We're never going to get the scraps of it to piece together.
Well, that depends. If you take each piece of land and ocean bottom and then connect them together and just literally measure it almost literally with a ruler or a laser to see how the sky clock orients itself at this specific latitude, the equator, and just see when you move over that virtual line, are you literally moving in a circle over the realm, the literal circle, or actually not a literal circle, a partial circle, or even a straight line, which would be very weird, you know? But that is very important to understand the orientation.
Can we look at the two pictures I just posted up in Masterbee?
New iPad that's hopefully coming any day has got a LiDAR scanner on it, which is what the STS missions claim to be doing, i.e. scanning the ground with LiDAR. So with enough iPad Pros, maybe your dream will become a reality. Right, I've got the analemma. Is that what you wanted me to put up?
Well, I mean, here's two pictures, and one of them's got the actual dates to it. So your luminary, where they are each year at the same time overhead. So what does that tell me about the surface? Doesn't tell me anything about the surface. Just tells me where they are each year based on the circuit that it runs. Like I said, it seems to be lower in the wintertime based on my horizon view, and seems to be much higher in the summertime based on my horizon view.
Very good.
It doesn't tell me anything about what I'm on.
Oh, but you can infer away, can't you?
Well, if I had a lot of money, and the right technical instrumentation, and one of these icebreaker ships that can go 10,000 miles without refueling, I might come back with something, but I don't have that.
What would you be looking for, though? We're talking about the celestial bodies. What makes
Ice
you think?
wall.
No, I would just go south and see what happens, and then see what I hit. And
He'd
then
run into the ice wall.
Oh,
Yeah, then I'd make.
What ice wall?
Then I'd make a.
Hold on. Why are you piping up with this? Are you just
Wait a
trying to put me in a
minute.
bad
It was
mood?
my ship that I don't have.
Hold on. He's just trying to. Is that just to get my goat? Is that all that was?
I was
We're in
just
stone-
reifying my ship that I can't afford. And I got into-
Rumpusing. QE. What ice wall?
He's eating.
Got the Kosho silence out of him.
So if I had that ship, I'll just go south until whatever, and then I either have to make a right turn or a left turn, and then I experiment and check and whatever. I can't do that, so I have to take what their view of it. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think
Don't
that's
trust them
what's
anyway.
somewhat disappointing is that all of the money and all of the properly organized authorities, they think that all of this stuff is already settled. So there isn't any genuine financially backed research happening into any of this, except, people in the corners of the internet.
Right. Cue
But-
the clip. Cue the clip of Truman Show when he's in school. He says, "I want to be an explorer," and she pulls down a roller with a map of the world on, and he
Yeah.
says, "It's all been explored. It's all been figured out. Nothing left to do."
Well, there's one thing they are doing, according to the reports, if they're true, they are preventing people from doing some of these things, like the one sailor that got turned back twice and arrested that I read, and the Antarctic treaty, as stiff as it is, and the cost, and they only let you visit the outer edges of the so-called continent. So why don't you just let people travel the oceans of the world and don't arrest them if they go somewhere you don't want them to go?
That said, it gives me an opportunity to plug my most popular video, which is called Confessions of an Antarctic Plumber, which is an fairly old interview now with Robert Shortman, who spent 18 months down in Antarctica as a plumber, surprisingly. And he gave us some very funny stories about some of the rules that they broke, and burning pallets and getting the temperature too high and making insects come out of the woodwork quite literally and things like that. Just blatant disregard for some of the Greenpeace rules or whatever they were supposed to be abiding by because they wanted to be a bit warmer some of the days. Who can blame them? Nevertheless, it was quite an amusing bunch of stories. The main thing I took away from his explanation was there is no 24-hour sun down there, which it's claimed and must be necessitated if you're on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum. And it just simply isn't the case. There isn't a 24-hour sun down there, according to first-hand testimony from someone who spent 18 months in the Antarctic, 12 months consecutively, and then another 6 months, I think it was prior, as an acclimatisation exercise. So, as I say, check it out. Robert Shortman's interview with myself on it's Mechanics of the Fourth Wall, myself and Antonio Zuberatz. It's called Confessions of an Antarctic Plumber. So check it out. It's a couple of hours long, good, solid interview with him telling all of the details you'd ever want to know about what it's like in Antarctica. Flying around, even took control of a plane at one stage. Naughty though that was, but he just explained what he was doing down there and his business that he had down there and what sort of went on. So check it out. So what ice wall?
Well, there's probably an ice wall somewhere.
Oh yeah. Why is that then, Arwin?
I've seen it. But who knows if it is still there or, what it is like. It could be just a straight ice wall. It could be a circle encircling our disk Earth or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the ice wall is like. I don't know if it is even... there might be gaps in it and they just didn't tell us,
Right, so
Or
we're
maybe
immediately...
now, we don't know
Hold
where.
on. We're immediately into begging the question, you don't know what the ice wall is like. What ice wall?
Well, the one that I've seen pictures of.
Oh yeah, that. And how big was that?
Well, it seemed very large, but yeah, it's only going to be
Give
maybe
it me
100
in.
miles.
Give it me
at
in
best.
miles.
100 miles at best.
Ooh, so from a 100-mile photograph of what you think is an ice wall, you think there's what, a 74,000-mile ice wall surrounding us in all directions? Wow, that's a big jump.
It is. So that's why I'm not per default accepting such a presupposition. But it could be a possibility. I don't know.
I've seen pictures
Well, I guess
that are
something's
claimed.
got to be
I've
keeping
seen
the oceans in.
Sorry, we've got another contender. Something's got to be keeping the ice ring at the oceans in. Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so in my bathroom right now, I've got a bathtub, and that can keep in water. I've seen pools that are made of tile; they can keep in water. I've seen ponds that are held in by dirt. So, why has it got to be an ice wall exactly?
Well, that's what I was trying to say.
Not you,
I've
Tenth
seen
Man. Hold on. Why has it got to be an ice wall
Yeah,
again?
I guess it doesn't have to be, but wouldn't you have to assume that has to be some sort of container?
Container, yeah, container, yeah. Water needs to be contained. Ice wall, you say?
It could also be contained by a looping nature of the realm.
What the hell are you piping up for with your looping nonsense, Arwin? Look, let's just nip this in the bud before we end the live show and ask everyone to stick around if they're on the Nathan Oakley channel. The assumption of an ice wall is based on this azimuthal equidistant projection of a sphere Earth onto a flat map, projected out from the North Pole, giving the Antarctic region the impression of being all around us in all directions. Now, am I saying it's not? No. Am I saying it is? Absolutely not. But to just assume that there is an ice wall, like this presupposition of this ring of ice all around us in all directions, is somehow tenable for any reason beyond people seeing a little stretch of ice somewhere, is just preposterous as far as I'm concerned. But it seems that there's plenty of people on our own side of the argument who will automatically assume we've got a bloody ice wall. Oh, really? Fill me in.
Well, they originally suggested, when they even started presenting it, that it was like a disk of ice, an island with a large chunk of ice on it. And then I think that flat earthers just naturally reversed that as a first response, saying, oh, no, wait, it's the other way around. That falls into the reversed world type of thinking. So then we must be surrounded by ice, a wall. It was kind of a natural response that was bound to happen anyway.
Oh,
it doesn't make it true, though.
Oh, yeah, if I hadn't have been shown, told, and had it inferred that there's an ice wall, I'd have just come to that of my own volition. Of course, it's so natural. With that, I'll say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 stream, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for smashing the super chat, hopefully commenting, sharing, subscribing, liking, all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!